Hello, this is Rebecca Bennyworth. We're here today to discuss the Winter Bankstream Accountants Confidence Index, and with me I have John Stockdyke from AccountingWEB.co.uk and also Kevin Bottomley from Bankstream. John, the index fell by 2 points this quarter to 7.0. What caused it?
Well, you won't be surprised to hear that it's not really a very good time of year for practitioners. October really is when they're at their lowest ebb, or at least this year. Throughout the rest of the year, pretty much every element of the index has always been above 7.0 out of 10, but it dropped to 6.7 for practitioners looking back at their own performance over the last 3 months. And the scale of that fall was enough to bring all the other elements of how they felt about small businesses and their own outlook for the next 3 months. That brought the whole thing down 2 whole points. There's the natural, ominous, looming self-assessment season there, but I think that's combined with some feedback we got about the economy being a concern and regulation. They both jumped. So you put those elements together and you can see why they're in a bit of a slump.
Yes, I think there's an awful lot going on for accountants in practice at the moment. Things that are out of the ordinary, extra regulation maybe, auto-enrolment really starting to kick off now. And then add on that the usual self-assessment season, it's little wonder they're feeling a bit depressed. What else can you tell us, John?
Okay, workload has been a consistent thorn in their sides, always the top concern. But that jumped from 22% to 27%. And again, it's pretty obvious why. And because of that, the survey focused in on preparations and anticipation for self-assessment season. It's maybe not as bad as we thought, because 7% weren't at all stressed about it. 44% weren't particularly stressed, but we still had 42% who are feeling very stressed about self-assessment season. There's another 4% who are extremely stressed. So there's quite a few of our members aren't in a very good place at this time of year.
Yes, that's worrying, isn't it, when almost half are really feeling quite stressed about it. Kevin, have you got any observations on this?
John's already mentioned there that workload is a big problem for accountants all the way throughout the year, and it's especially bad at this time of year. And when you couple that with staffing issues, which tends to be the second biggest concern for accountants, it can look quite bleak. So the thing that really stood out of the survey this time for me was the question around automation. It was really great to see that 70% of the respondents can see automation as a way to do a lot of the basic accounting work. That's great because obviously it means they can do a lot more work without taking on extra staff. The challenge now is obviously finding the time to implement these tools that can provide that benefit. But some of them are easier to implement than others. So even now there's still opportunities for people to put automation in place to help them through the busy period that's coming up.
Really? So this near the deadline, there's still something they can do about it.
That's
So
right.
maybe that 4% might like to think about that. What other things can accountants do, John, to relieve some of this?
Just to back up what Kevin said, we actually did find evidence that there has been quite a bit of preparation in advance of the season. So 19% had implemented bank feeds of the kind Bankstream provide. We had a large group upgrading their account software as well. So those are sort of some technology things. Portals were another popular improvement. There's also some non-technology things. So 16% have put more people in place for this season, and by far and away the biggest precaution was chasing people earlier, which 55% of practices are doing this year. So you don't need technology to do that, but actually it can also help you if you automate that process too. The reminder notes can go out while you're doing something else.
That's very interesting. I guess what we could call it is using your brain and working smarter, as well as working harder. So that's quite an interesting observation. So they're chasing earlier, a good section of them. Kevin, got any observations on that and the impact on the workflow?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that we do at Bankstream is try and help practices improve their workflow. I suppose we see the two main issues to it. The first one is the obvious one, the bottlenecks that you get at this time of year, particularly close to deadlines where everyone brings in all of their work at the same time. But then the other one is actually processing that work and all of the manual effort that goes into that. So from our perspective, we see that technology can help with the first issue. So things like data feeds that some of our respondents are starting to use, they're a great way of capturing transactions as they occur and then just getting them to accountants on a daily basis, so that just stops the bottleneck building up. But then in terms of actually processing the work, we don't think that accountants should be spending their time on processing the basic work. But then again, we don't think that it can be reliably pushed on to clients. They're generally just as time poor as accountants. But they also probably don't have the skill or the inclination to actually do the job properly anyway. So again, we think that technology can help with that as well. So as we alluded to the automation earlier, that's just a great way of speeding up the processing of that work. And if you're getting that work to do on a daily basis, then it's sort of win-win really.
Yeah, I agree. And we've touched on it before, and I think it's got to be the way for the future. So very interesting. Well, that's all we've got time for with our review of the Winter Bankstream Accountants Confidence Index. If you'd like to read the report yourself, you can download it from www.accountingweb.co.uk/Bankstream. Thank you for listening.